Engine. Okay, yeah. You can edit this later, right? And
I'm
chop it
not
up.
going to edit. This is going straight raw to DevHub's YouTube channel. This is me talking to our lead web developer at DevHub about the WP Engine WordPress situation. More in the post link below. I mean, that's basically what I would say. And then again, I
Okay.
just wanted to hear it from your end because obviously you're the one that flagged it, to me at least, and the rest of the team. And so, like, how do you understand it?
So my understanding is that you have a dispute between Automatic, which is the WordPress.com, which is the non-free version of WordPress facing company, going after WP Engine for basically trademark because they have WP in their name, which WordPress. So back in 2010, I believe, is where WordPress.org gave the trademark rights for WordPress to WordPress.com. And now WordPress.com, who's run by Mullenweg, Mark Mullenweg, I believe is his name. Uh, you know, basically is finally going after WP Engine for that trademark. But I think a lot of it is just kind of, it just sounds like they want their fee, for that trademark, and WP Engine doesn't want to do it. And, he
Like,
attacked
what do
him
you think?
from,
Like, in all reality, like, do you actually think sites are at risk?
do I think? No, I don't think so. I don't think WordPress would shoot them or WordPress.com would shoot themselves in the foot any more than they already have. As far as like when they did the API shut off,
For WP Engine sites?
yeah, to me that is like the biggest warning sign of like, well, why would you do that? Like that's just like a crazy escalation in this, because now you're not just affecting your adversary at the moment, right? But you're affecting clients, right? And anytime you make it, anytime you make a decision, you have to think of everyone that's going to be affected by this. And the fact that WordPress.com and Automatic decided to make the gamble to affect actual clients, to me just sets a bad precedent for WordPress
The
in
brand and
itself,
everything
right?
else.
The brand itself, because now even like so yes, WP Engine's the big one, but there's a lot of other, WordPress shops out there. What happens when WordPress comes after you for something? You know what I mean? That you use some marketing weird and they don't like it. You know what I mean? And so I think it sets a really bad precedent for it's one thing to go after them legally for I mean, it's obvious. WP
I know.
WordPress. I mean, as a
I'll be real with you for 2 seconds. It always confused me. I always
yeah,
thought WP Engine was like an enterprise version of actual WordPress. Like, actually, like you were working with WordPress. Like,
yeah.
and
And that's
then,
where, WordPress has that in my mind of like
yeah, then
that's
they changed their
obvious,
name to like Alligator CMS or something weird.
but you can't you're both using WordPress. WordPress.com and WP Engine both use WordPress. So if you sour those clients on WordPress, they will never come back. And no offense to WordPress, but it's the past anyway, in a lot of sense. Like, yes, it is 40% of the web, but that's just because anyone can spin up a site really fast on WordPress.org or WordPress.com, right? And I think with kind of this disruption, it could just change people's outlook. When people start forecasting, their website plans in 2025 and they're on WordPress, do you not think that the conversation is like, well, maybe we should look elsewhere, right? Because, maybe they weren't able to update their theme. I mean, I can't really tell like what the actual shut off, you know, actually did to live clients. I am curious, whether it was just like strictly you couldn't update stuff or whatnot, but it doesn't matter because it's in the headlines. It's in the zeitgeist now, and you can't bring that back. So, and that's why you just always have to be careful, and especially business decisions like that. Like you have to, whenever you're making a decision, legal or otherwise, uh, you have to think about the consequences that's going to have on everyone else. I think it's funny we talk about like other consequences. Just a little side note for Seattle, right? Because I was in the office yesterday and I noticed that my trip downtown was way busier than it's ever been for a long time. And this is after Amazon decided to go full back into the office, right? Which, me and my wife were having this discussion last night, and it was like, this affects so many people that are not Amazon employees. Like every single person, my wife was like, traffic is crazy now than it's ever been since the pandemic started, and so there's these trade-offs, right? So Amazon made the decision to make all their workers come back into the office, but now it's going to have this huge ripple effect. Yes, it'll be positive for the economy, but it's also, it affects people negatively, that have to compete with that transportation and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's just one of those things, like your decision, like business decisions are always going to ripple across everything. And you just have to be very cognizant of when those ripples will come back and bite you, right? 'Cause I don't think Amazon one is one that will necessarily bite them. I mean, I get it, but it does affect other people negatively to make that decision. And the same goes for WordPress.com with WP Engine now. They made the decision to kind of strong arm WP Engine in a way that will now affect the way every single WordPress admin, I would say, is thinking about whether they still want to use WordPress or not, right? Even if they don't really think it'll affect them, they're still going to now think about it. It's something they've probably never thought about ever.
Do you think it goes the other way, actually, where, again, if you were using WP Engine, which, again, is still in a weird way, admittedly, WordPress, that actually, you know what, we want to go more native.
No, absolutely.
And build against it, internally versus, again, using them for whatever they guarantee, security protocols, whatever.
I just think there is so many more ways to build websites now than there ever were before. WordPress was just the easiest way to do it back in the day. That's the way everyone did it. That's the way everyone was taught in school.
That's how we
So
started.
you use yeah, exactly. Like everyone started with WordPress at one point, and that's why it's so, it's 40% of the web, right?
Yeah.
But I think this is like that first, you know, kind of blow to their armor of that, like, hey, maybe it's time to look elsewhere, right? And even if you start losing 5 or 10% over time, even, or like short term, like over time, you're just, people will stop teaching. I mean, you saw it with gosh, I'm gonna screw it up, but I think it was like Unreal Engine, one of the uh software for building video games. They started going after developers because they were getting greedy, so they went after them more for more money, and then everyone just stopped using it. You know what I mean? And now they're like I think it's slowly ticking back up, but again, you have these greedy decisions that you make that, like, in the end, you always have to think about the client. You know what I mean? And is the client going to support you in this? If WordPress engine or automatic was just going after WP engine for their name and did nothing else other than just like legally, like, hey, change your name or whatever, no one would care and nothing would happen. But the fact that they took the step of retaliating by shutting stuff off, I just thought was, again, that's just such a bad decision. And, you've taught me this in a lot of sense of, like, we always do it the right way at DevHub. Okay. Where, like, we're not going to, if you don't want to be here anymore, that's fine. You can take your stuff and you can go, and we'll help you do that. You know what I mean? Because there's just, no reason to burn that bridge. Yes, you're losing money, which affects our bottom line, but you can choose to do it the nice way or you can choose to do it the bad way, right?
Yeah.
And it's just always better to choose the good way, because people will remember that. They might come back after they realize they made a horrible decision leaving, or whatever. You know what I mean? And that's fine. But you just don't burn that bridge. Let them burn the bridge, and you can always be there like, hey, I'm still here. It's cool. So I don't know. That's my
Perfect.
feeling on it.
No, again, I loved your perspective. Even yesterday when we talked, so I was like, can you hop on here and just like explain it to whoever watches this video, like what's going on?
I mean, more and more stuff comes out every day. I mean, it's very fascinating to watch because I would say we don't get a lot of drama in our neck of the woods. There's not a lot of like
Websites, yeah.
weird website drama going on, and especially with like WordPress, right? Which again, we've all used. If you build websites now, you've used WordPress at one point or another.
Again, Daniel always says, if set up correctly by the agency, by whoever, again, specifically for franchise brands, like it can be very good. But most
Yeah,
people just do
absolutely.
a half-assed job, and then shit breaks. They don't keep up with plugins, all the things that happen after you start to scale it, and then that's where obviously we step in.
Yeah, I mean that's like the website headache 101. It's just
Yeah.
realizing that like the website is the most important thing that you need for any business, but it's also the thing that you have to keep up with all the time, right?
Oh no, I think it's
Because
yeah. I mean, I used to tell people 10 years ago you could have forgot your site for 5. 5 years ago you could have forgot it for 3, and now we tell people you need to be updating it at least 4 to 6 times a quarter.
yeah, yeah, even small, like it's not even like, yeah, you don't have to make big changes, but little changes always are helpful nowadays, or it's just expected, right? That like the content of a website is dynamic, and WordPress was always good with that, and they always improved with that stuff over the years. But this to me, this is the first like negative headline I've ever seen for WordPress in that sense. That also could have just been avoided, or they could have easily gotten public sentiment on their side, in the first place. So I don't know.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Eric, and I'll see you online.
Yeah. Yeah. See you online. Bye, Mark.
Bye.